On this broadcast, I'm going to ask you a very serious question on a very serious topic. In fact, this may be the second most important question you're ever going to have to answer, and it involves the tribulation, the Great Tribulation. Do you believe you're going through the Great Tribulation? Do you plan on maybe being stuck in the Great Tribulation and have to see it through the end till Christ returns at the end of the tribulation? Now, a lot of churches, of course, they tell you you should just reconcile with that fact and plan on being in the tribulation. And this question is actually directed to both believers and non-believers. Now, of course, non-believers they don't have any real, they never give it a second thought. If it happens, it happens. They're resigned to whatever happens, and it doesn't matter. I mean, once in a while, a non-believer may be interested in apocalyptic visions and the Book of Revelation. It's only usually in forms of popular entertainment, movies and such. But if you're a Christian, if you're a born again Bible believing Christian, and you think you're going through the Great Tribulation, I think there is reason to believe that you might want to question your salvation, your born again uh, status as a Christian. I think there's real cause for you to revisit your born again um, rebirth experience as a Christian. Because what did Jesus say about tribulation? How did he define tribulation? Well, of course, in the book of John, he talks about in the world you will have tribulation. And it's tribulation with a lowercase t, a small t. But be of good courage, I have overcome the world. We are born again, is his message. We are born again with Jesus in his resurrection. Perfectly suitable topic for this Passover season, this resurrection season. And since we are born with him again, we are elevated with him to newness of life and to the glorious ascension that he has in a sense. So we have a rebirth. We are, in a sense, separated from the world. We are renewed and consecrated anew into the kingdom of heaven. So why, you have to ask, why would you have to go through some kind of trial by hell on earth, which would be what the tribulation is going to be? Why would you have to go that in addition to everything you've gone through on earth? Isn't this earth? Isn't this life on this earth? Isn't this our trial? Isn't this our journey, the one that God is going to judge us on? He tells us to run the race. All who run the race and race it, finish to the end, those are the ones who will receive the prize. You run and you overcome and you persevere, and sufficient unto the day are the problems thereof. Jesus very much focuses on just handling what we have on our plate from day to day. He says you don't have to go thinking further ahead. We just have to simply meet every challenge we have, respond in the most Christly way we can, and that is our journey in this life. And then we will be judged, and then we will have the beam of judgment, and all the crowns or rewards will be given out at that. So why on earth would he put us in a situation where we are the subject of the full fury of God's wrath on the wicked, as if it were going to purify us in some way? Remember, the Apostle Paul said we are not appointed to wrath. And Jesus, of course, backs that up in so many references, so many quotes in the gospel. He says, in addition to that, he says, pray that you are accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come upon the earth. It's clearly directed at a pre-tribulation rapture church escaping. Why should we not expect to escape? we've been here, we've been doing due diligence, and of course the church at large has fallen away, and we're stuck with just a slew of false teachers and prosperity preachers and preachers that are given over to seducing spirits, and it's all completely idolatrous and demonic because God said that in the last days, demonic spirits would come, seducing spirits would come along that if in any way possible could could deceive the elect. That's their whole goal is to have one last ditch attempt to deceive everybody into the devil's plan. So, this is our test. This is our test. Our test is to finish strong. We are to have a fiery trial. Says in scriptures, don't be surprised, don't be alarmed when you have this fiery trial, as if something strange had come upon you. Sometimes we think, oh man, this is so crazy. This what's happening to me. It's like it's like some kind of mental insanity, something going on that you can't explain. So it can't be in God's will. But God says, don't be alarmed at that. Nothing that we are experiencing is uncommon to anything that any of the saints experienced, any of the disciples. Um, you know, so we're not to be alarmed about this. We're supposed to put on the breastplate of righteousness, the sword of truth and the breastplate of righteousness and the preparation of peace, all those things. That's our armor in the world today, so that we can finish a good fight and say, I have won, I have finished the course, and I have fought the good fight, and we're satisfied with what we've done. We've done everything that we can. That's what the Apostle Paul did. In fact, he has some wonderfully comforting words, and that's in the book of Timothy. I'm just going to get them out and read right now, which show kind of put the whole thing in context. He's talking about being at the near the end of his ministry. He says, "Watch thou in all things, endure affliction, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry. For I am now ready to be offered." He means going to Rome to be executed. "And the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous Lord, shall give me in that day, and not to me only, but to all them that love his appearing." All who love his appearing. Do you think many people love his appearing today? Do you think many people are looking forward to his appearing today? Very few, and very few even in the established church. The prosperity preachers aren't loving his appearing. They're living too high on the hog. They're promising wealth and cars and houses to all that follow them, and they're all false prophets. They're all false teachers, and they're as many as the stars in the sky. They're just everywhere you look, and it's very, very hard to find someone who actually knows the true riches of God and what they are and how to use them and how to bring them into their life. If you find that you're really a true servant of God, if you're really born again, you have this inner joy and peace, and your riches come from so many other avenues than the prosperity teachers are talking about. It is not natural to crave luxury, for instance. It's not natural to crave extravagance and wasteful spending, and living way beyond your needs in a state of a bubble of luxury and extravagance. That's not true. That's not joy, and it's not real. It's not of life. The real joy, the real peace and satisfaction of life comes from people, and it comes from those that are rich in faith and have a deep, deep spiritual riches. So that is what we are to strive for. This is like a foreign language, of course, to any of the Generation Zs and the um, Oh, the millennials, they all, this is all they know. This is all they know. And you have to turn around. You have to make sure you turn that ship around before it's too late, because this is the time for God to warn all of his people, and all, even non-believers who are just searching for God, even they're just exploring Christianity. They may have a slight interest in prophecy. They may have an inkling toward this sort of thing. Time to get real, time to get down to the truth and the love of God joined together to guide you through the leading of the Holy Spirit, which is our only guide, really, at here at my church, at Veritas Triumphant Church. So that is what we have. We put on the whole righteousness of God. Um, we are prepared. Because there's just so many references in scripture in the gospels where Jesus talks about, you know, preparing his a place for us, a mansions. This comes in the book of John, the great book of John, where the promises really come out, whereas it's just every promise you can imagine, including um, some dire warnings that go unheeded right now today. Remember when Jesus was on the road to Calvary, some of the women of Jerusalem, they came by and they were trying to, to reach out to him, crying for him, and he said, "Weep not for me, ladies, but weep for yourselves." Because the time will come, darkness is going to come, and a time will come when no man can work. And that is what the tribulation is. Remember, the tribulation is a time of terror and evil running amok. You think it's bad now. You just imagine what it's going to be during the 7 years when, you'll be running for your life. That is what's going to be happening. I want to let you know you'll be running for your life. The vast majority of everybody that is living at that time will be killed, either beheaded or executed in some way. You'll be probably, if you don't take the mark of the beast, then you will be starving to death. You'll be guaranteeing your death. So this is what you have to look for. Really, people talk about the tribulation going, to the end, and it's 7 years at the end of that. That's when the judgment begins. That's when the real fireworks start. But it's not that way at all, because the tribulation really, the beginning of the tribulation really signals the end far more than anything we've ever encountered in human time. It says this is a time of tribulation such as never has been, never will be, and we have to take it very, very seriously, and we have to prepare, because if you're not doing practical steps to prepare, if you're not using your wisdom that God gives you, if you're not seeking actively His guidance, if you're not hungering and thirsting for righteousness to guide you every step of the way, and it is every step of the way, minute by minute, every day. I don't know if everybody watching can feel that kind of pressure, is feeling that kind of pressure, but it is an awful, awful lot of anxiety out there, and sleeplessness, and people who just say, I can't deal with all this tragedy, one thing after another. I mean, this is what happens when God abandons a culture, when God, you know, um, judges the whole world. He's done it right now. They like to give it other names like global warming, but this is the beginning of God's judgment. And get used to it. get get real. Get factual about it, and study to show yourself approved to God. You do that by studying the scriptures, and you by going to prophetic ministries, and by comparing verses with Old Testament and New Testament verses. And there are plenty of very good teachings on this, and we have them right here at this ministry. And once you do that, and once you come on and seek advice and counsel from people that know the scriptures, they don't have to be, bona fide prophets of God, but very often they are informed with enough knowledge and enough general analysis and appreciation of the trends that are going on in society. They know where we are. And I can tell you pretty surely that the things that I've seen lately, the economic problems for one thing, the problems with the thing with Russia and all the other events that are happening just so fast we can't even keep track of them. All these things are kind of previews of the first first effects of the tribulation. Yes, there will be a financial collapse. We're seeing the beginnings of that now. Yes, there will be famine like we've never seen before. And of course, we're in the days of Noah, so there'll be incredible butchery and violence and vileness. None of us could imagine that human beings could be so evil, had we? We just can't even fathom the depravity of mankind. And the unfortunate thing is, we should all just come to terms that there is no bottom for human depravity. Humans are, as God says in the book of Genesis, in the days of Noah, he said he looked down and there was not one that did good, not one that sought him. That's how, and the only ones that got aboard the ark were Noah and his family. He didn't have a single convert to following God in his day, in the antediluvian time before the flood. And so that's how bad it was. Be prepared. You're at war. You're in the full grips in the last days, and it's all out spiritual warfare. Just realize that. I'm going to I'm going to read to you a little bit from the book of Matthew, which is called the Matthew 24, the Olivet Discourse. Now, this is the period where Jesus goes through everything involving the last days, pretty much a whole synopsis of everything. It deals with the tribulation, it deals with the rapture, it deals with the nuclear war, everything you'd expect to hear Jesus talk about as a warning. And we're going to go through them one by one, and we're going to connect them. And we're going to see, I'm going to show you that, people say that, oh, the Apostle Paul, he came up with this new doctrine called the rapture, you know, or the people that see a rapture, a secret rapture, as they say. He says that they are part of a cultish sort of point of view that came about in the 1800s, where they say that, oh, it's a secret, rapture, and it was all part of the charismatic movement by a woman that sort of dreamt it all up, had a vision, sort of like Muhammad in his vision almost. I mean, just totally unsubstantiated. And but if you look through the scriptures, the rapture is everywhere. It's everywhere. The resurrection was a rapture. There are individuals that have had raptures. Elijah, Philip, Enoch. There's a number of people that have actually been taken off the earth. It is not so uncommon, and that's why the rapture is the greatest miracle, the greatest event in all of human history, second only to the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which was the first rapture, the first official rapture guarantee for his people. Okay, so that's how to put the whole event in context. This business of half, are you going through half the tribulation? Are you going to be a post tribulation rapturist? Well, the idea is absurd because there's going to be nothing left of the earth to be rescued out of. And then they say that Christ comes back then, so you're going to go up to meet him in the air and come down suddenly. And anyway, this will all be cleared up in Matthew 24. So let me just get ready and get that for you. Okay, we'll begin Matthew 24, verse 32 to begin. And this states, "Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Now what is he talking about here? He's talking about the fig tree. That is, by all scholars' accounts, a reference to the reformation of Israel in 1948 when it became a nation overnight. Okay, that there is no disputing that in terms of biblical scholarship. Okay. Um, Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things will be fulfilled. So, if that was in 1948, anyone born from 1948 will will see the end. Even in, we're now on the 75th year anniversary of the founding of Israel, so we're going to be 75 years, and it may go to 100 years. But anyway, the people that saw, or people that were born when Israel was founded in 1948, will see the rapture and these events take place. Okay. Then it says, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Okay. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So, no predicting the tribulation. Sorry, it can't be done. Nobody can say when and why. I have a very good theory. Many people have come around, I've noticed on YouTube, to supporting this theory that it's not a theory, really, just a fact that the church is not ready at all for the tribulation. I mean, there are a few people that are looking up, as the scripture tells us to do, but very few, and people need to be prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, for everything that's going to be coming their way. And this is what we intend to do at this ministry. Okay. This generation shall not until all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. We know that. But of that day and hour, no man. Okay. But as in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days they were drinking before the flood. They were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, one will be taken, the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one will be taken, the other left. Watch, therefore, for you do not know what time he's coming. So here Jesus is saying himself, it's an imminent event. It's something you have to be ready for at all times, even from the first century on down to our time. Be ready, and that it keeps you prepared. That keeps you spiritually sharp. That keeps you aware of your surroundings and everything that's happening in history. One of the great tragedies of our time is that nobody knows history anymore. People don't even know what country, where the countries are on a map. They don't know anything about history, and this is, of course, Satan's plan to keep people completely deluded, completely just simply lost in games and entertainment, so that they don't know a thing that's happening. They just go along with everything that's happening. Doesn't want us to escape. Remember that. Satan is very much intent on blocking the rapture, and he will do everything he can to throw trouble our way, to cause us to be fearful, to cause us to be doubtful, to cause us to mistrust, our faith, and lose it altogether, and just kowtow to wokeism and political correctness. But if you've come this far, if you're truly centered in the Lord, that's water off a duck's back. That's nothing that will ever affect you anymore, because you can't be deceived. You've come through the fire and come forth as gold tried in the fire. That's another metaphor. They talk about how we're purified. We have to be purified. We have to be absolutely cleansed from within. So if you think you're going now, if you're in one of these mid-trib, late-trib churches, get out. Don't you're not going to be prepared. You're not going to know where to go. Okay. So that's all that's message there. Let's go back to where we were reading before. Okay. Yeah, he talks about two in the field, two grinding at the mill, what time. So People think that Jesus never even said that. They think that's something only Apostle Paul said. Jesus. Oh well. All he said was he had a quote that he said. Where in that day, and it says after back in verse 29, it says immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall the sign of the Son of Man be in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And here's the key verse, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now, there are many people that misquote that, and they say that he's going to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. Oh, big difference, big difference. Now, I mean, so many of the late tribulation people, they hang their hat on that verse. Yeah, Pat Robertson, he swears by that. That's all he hears. There's no secret rapture. Why should there be? Why should there be for rich, prosperous, financially uh, just just hugely prosperous and wealthy pastors to want that to end. That's part of the whole strategy behind this anti-rapture attitude. Think about it. Think of how absolutely absurd it is. I don't want to go to heaven. I love this world so much, I don't want to go to heaven. There was an old movie called Heaven Can Wait years ago. It's sort of that, I'm just having so much fun down here below. Heaven can't be any better than this. That's the sort of attitude that we have to deal with there. Now there are. It's interesting in the Jewish calendar. There are many feast days that correspond with a lot of events that happen in the New Testament that Christians recognize in one form or another. And there's Passover, and there's Pentecost, and then there's something called Yom Kippur, and the Yom Kippur comes before the great Feast of Tabernacles at the end of all time, which symbolizes the marriage supper of the Lamb and the final union of Christ with His bride. And so the Yom Kippur is interesting. That is considered the holiest day in all of Jewish history for a very good reason. Why? Why? Because it represents the atonement of the Jewish people to their God when they reflect and they repent, they confess, and all things. It's a time of great soul searching for the Jewish people. And that is the parallel that the Jewish calendar has with the tribulation. It's a time of atonement. It's a time of atonement, and it's the time when the people of God, the seed of Jacob, will finally have their Pentecost. Well, they'll finally have their revival and come to know their Messiah. We see a few of them today. It's a very encouraging sign, but they will go all out, and like people have said, it'll be like 144,000 Billy Grahams running all around and having great revivals and great conversions of all the people. And it says at one point, even all of Israel gets be saved. So that is what that is intended for. It's um, the time of Jacob's trouble, as it's called. And it's called Jacob because of the people of Jacob, the people of Jacob and Isaac and Abraham. So that is what is set up for them. So that's important to read. That's important to understand. The atonement they are going through in the tribulation is the atonement we as believers should all have gone through when we came to the Lord, when we were not say transition, but we were transformed from within, when we put off the old man, put on the new man, and we became renewed within. We became new people. If you haven't become a significantly different person since you become a Christian, you might want to take stock of your salvation at this point. Maybe got time to go back to your first love, as Jesus says to these churches in Revelation. Go back to your first love. Find those things that sustained you before, because that's going to be your hope. That's going to be your hope. So There you go. Now there are other things. There's also a very important reason why we look toward the rapture. It's not an escape. It's not an escape from anything. It's we're trying to maintain our constant communion with God and to reach other people to have that kind of consciousness, that kind of readiness, so that they can have the power to survive in this current state, because there's so many. When you look at the world right now, there are so many charities and groups that are just overwhelmed. We have catastrophes, we have disasters one after another. We can't keep track of them. We go from one to another, and we know that we don't have all the resources we need. So how do you do that? How do you equip yourself to help those people who are in desperate need when there's not enough resources to treat everyone? Well, you prepare them for the rapture. That's the answer. Look up. Look up, find all your hope within the Lord. Pray every day. Pray without ceasing. Pray every minute. That will get you, and get with people to pray with you. Become an army of God. Take down the principalities of darkness that Satan has presented in front of you in your path every day. There is darkness, and there are just pockets of it that can be ripped apart if you just stand up to them. Just stand up to them. Just come together in prayer and stand up to them. Tell them as it is. Tell them, and that eventually, Satan, being the coward that he is, he'll retreat. I mean, it says, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Well, have you seen him flee from you? Probably because you haven't joined together with other believers. You haven't come together in prayer, and you haven't confronted directly with the sword of truth the offenders that are perpetrating these lies, these evil deeds. These people are so brazen in their evil, they're just demonic. So we have to treat them as demons and not people. Okay, now have the and know where to draw the line, or where it's going to be worse, and that sort of thing. Those are all those sort of things. We have to live in this eternal reality and presence of God, living and staying strong. And so this is all just a part of having mercy on your fellow believers. And there's so many other things. And then there's a wonderful story that I think, that Jesus actually has a parable about the rapture and the lukewarm church that won't come to the rapture. It's a story about a man who has a supper for all his guests, and he invites them all. And this will sound very familiar to us living in our time. One says, I've bought an oxen and I can't come to your supper table tonight because I have to go try out the oxen. And one says, I brought a house, I have to go check out the house, and I got married. So I can't, sorry, I can't. I just got married. And so all the kinds of excuses that you will hear today, we all have them. We're all guilty of it. I got to do this. I got to, and so what does he say in response to that? What does he say to them, and what does he say to us? He says, you who are not going to leave what you're doing and come to this supper, you're never going to taste the supper. Whoever turns this away will never taste the supper. That's pretty harsh. That's pretty harsh, but that shows you that only those who really want it, are really desperate for it, excuse me, only those will come to the supper. Only those will come to the supper of the Lamb and his wedding. So that is the warning that we all have today. We must be prepared. We must be prepared. There's too many with hardened hearts. There's far too much rebellion against God. We are so ill prepared. We are just bringing sorrow and affliction upon ourselves when we continually turn aside. We need to be joined together. Excuse me. We need to be joined together at all times. So stay united in Christ. Stay united. Stay with this channel. I'd love to hear from you. Pastor Allen of Veritas Triumphant Church. Let us know if you are having a service you'd like to have us come to you and have a prayer meeting with you and just visit you wherever you are in the country or around the world. It doesn't matter, because we're going to be spreading wider and further, and there will be information given out, and we're going to shortly, I hope to have a guidebook to preparing for the rapture, so you can all kind of take the steps needed and know where to put all your energies and all your dedication and your preparation. Right. Like I say, Pastor Allen, Veritas Triumphant Church, VeritasTriumphant.com is the website. Veritas Triumphant Church is the YouTube channel. And Gordon Allen, Pastor Allen at Facebook is the Facebook address we have. Please leave a comment if you like, and give a thumbs up if you like this video, and it will help us move forward, get more subscribers, and launch this ministry to spread to those parts of the world where the gospel has still not been preached. There's still quite a few areas that have to go, and we know that once we do that, that's the time Jesus said the end will come, when the revival happens and we have completed the Great Commission. This is Pastor Allen. God bless you, and I will see you again soon. God bless you again.